Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue unpacking boxy Chinese character today. And today's character was correctly predicted by one of the audiences. And it's guo. It's a very common character in Chinese because once we talk about country or nation here, I translated guo is definitely there. As somebody who grew up in simplified Chinese environment, I didn't really think about what made this guo as a nation. Why? I never questioned what nation the concept is and how the look of the nation character would make sense to mean nation. In the middle, we have Jade character. And we, a few weeks ago, talked about why Jade looks like this. It used to look alike with the concept of king. And because king is somebody who is in power, and therefore they can force anybody who look like or sound like their name, personal name, or their kingdom name, to something else. So jade is a case like that. It used just to be this jade discs put on a string. That's the typical jade storage format, and we have to add this extra dot to make it differentiate from the ruler concept. Okay, so we have the jade in the middle of this box. Okay, the box can easily be the border of a sovereign nation. Even that concept is a contemporary thing. By the time this Chinese character was invented back then, the world looked different, and the world map, if there was any map, would look different than today. So it was as sovereign as possible for back then. But the concept of having a sort of a borderline, whether it's inked on a map or not, that's a separate thing. But at least there is a sense of a boundary, and in the middle, the jade. Why jade? Okay, this turned out to be a simplified version thing because originally it was like this. 2,000 years ago, the standardization first occurred, and Xu Shen compiled this dictionary, and that's the record back then. That's how the nation concept looked like back then. And then we have traditional Chinese, which about 200 years after this first standardization. And you can see this later version got more rectangularized so that we get rid of the curves because curves are harder to draw. And all that details, all that strokes is harder to render. So here is more writing friendly, but it keeps the structure of the original 2,000 years ago version. So this gets more defensible in terms of why the look of this makes sense for the meaning of nation. Because in the middle, there are three parts. Let's look at the mid-history first standardization. So this right part, many strokes, 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes, made pointy thing as an ancient weaponry. Most likely something called daggered spear. So sharp edges to kill, right? To fight. So it's weaponry. And then here in the middle, this is almost a circular thing. Well, we talked about how Chinese use the mouse symbol to represent a person. Here is, if we know a little bit of, if you still remember how the mouse symbol look like, it's a pot. It's a cookware. Obviously here there's no pot, but the later scholars' interpretation of that is this circular thing still represent human mouse symbol, I guess. It's abstracted mouse symbol. And then we can view that as the people living on this land use the weapon to defend the land. And this horizontal line, especially if it's at the bottom of the frame, means the land. So the flat thing is the ground. So this defend their ground with this border line around it. That's the original, back then, how the concept of nation was conceptualized. So in the event of a simplification of Chinese by communist government, who mainly were concerned about this is too complicated for average person, Chinese people, to learn back then, for the purpose of reducing the illiteracy rate. Then back then, scholars picked this jade symbol to swap out of this more complicated one. So here, this jade symbol, I guess if I tried hard enough to look at any documents of this process of simplification thinking process by scholars, why this swapping, I could find something, but just my guesses here, because jade was valued a precious stone, kind of a Chinese equivalent of a diamond. It doesn't have the marketing effect of means eternity tied knot kind of function, but jade was a valued precious stone, used to be our currency, used to be personal adornment, and used to be the seal. If you watch Dune, right at the beginning, I forgot what's the name, but it's a leader of a planet, and visited by the hierarchy of the planetary system. Then there's a seal thing, right, and have to press a stamp on it. So similarly, ancient, I guess this is kind of age-old practice of somebody who is in power have this specially carved symbol representing the power, and that carved material happened to be jade. So jade associated with the state seal, and that symbolized power, symbolized unity. This is basically what you're fighting for, because this is the highest power on this land. So this put that in the center, this power symbol within this borderline. That's my guess of why this swapping out, and also jade probably is easier, way easier than this huo. And a little bit about huo. Huo is an interesting Chinese character. Overall, the imagery means defense, right? And by its people, defense its land with the weaponry. Eventually, this character became like abstract. It becomes uncertain, becomes or. The computer operational keyword or. It means uncertainty, basically. So this uncertainty came from the imagery. In Chinese culture, it will be something you can identify as a particular place, because that place is not just an empty place. There are people living in there holding weapons to defend that place. It's their turf, basically. And you can identify that a particular people / place that you don't want to mess with, and that symbolized eventually became like uncertain, or a connector word of or, because you can either be friend with them or be enemy with them. So situation is uncertain. So this huo becomes, in today's language, or. And we have an or in the middle of the box to make the nation concept. Oh, interesting. Okay, excuse me. We have 国家, nation, 家, home. Nation home is a concept that I grew up with. I was born to think that your home is your nation. Your country is your home. Homeland, right? Kind of similar like that. So if nation is the whole land, then homeland, that's the equivalent of 国家. And 国产 means production, means made in this same home country. So it's equivalent to made in USA. But Chinese would say 国产, made in China. Okay, imagine Chinese people look at the label, it says made in China. It evokes a kind of a different feeling than if you're outside China and see the label made in China. It's from your own country. Like, why do you even declare that? Okay, 国宝, 宝 means treasure. So 国宝, either it's a craftsmanship, some special techniques, or it's the craftsmen themselves. Somebody who have a special high achievement in a particular artistry, then they would be recognized as a national treasure. And here is nation represented by United Nations. 国. There you go. Thank you for your time. See you another day.